Hi, welcome to the Elle Russ Show, where I deliver content intended to inspire, educate, and motivate. Engage with me online at elleruss.com and on social media. Enjoy the show. Hey everyone, just a quick 1-minute announcement to let you know about my virtual courses and free masterclasses. I have courses and free masterclasses based on both of my books. I have the Ultimate Thyroid Course. This is your answer to solving any thyroid issue, whether it be Hashimoto's, radioactive iodine, thyroidectomy after thyroid cancer, or just general hypothyroidism. Reverse T3 issues as well. It's an incredible value at 17 modules and 29 hours of content with amazing guest expert tutorials. I also offer the Ultimate Confidence Course. That is 15 modules and 14 hours with also a few guest expert tutorials. An incredible value, and I have free masterclasses on both of those topics as well. Visit elleruss.com to learn more. Hey everyone, today is another solo episode. And I'm going to talk about I'm going to expand a little bit on a part in my book that I talk about in Confident as Fuck, where I say that confident people choose battles wisely, or maybe more often than not, but that is a thing. And anyway, within this, so choosing a battle. Now, spiritual gurus, people would say, you never battle, right? I don't mean fist fights, by the way. I mean words or confrontation. So some people who in the spiritual gurus be like, no, just be calm and never be riled up. And absolutely, we always want to get to a state where we can be less reactive to things. I'm sure maybe you can remember a time in your youth or at another time where maybe you were more reactive than you are now, because as you mature and learn and grow and become emotionally mature, you care less about certain things. Maybe you choose less battles, right, than you did when you were younger. So I don't choose every battle that comes across my plate. I mean, basically, confident people are okay with allowing something to happen in terms of just letting someone be right. Sometimes it's just easier letting someone be right, even though they're not or whatever. It's like the non-conversation, right? Arguing, a point for hours on end. Sometimes it's a fool's game, right? So sometimes you just choose to not even engage in a battle, even though it's like, well, here's one to take. Because in those moments, at some point, you just really don't care about being right. And in that sense, the ego has been refined because you become more emotionally mature, because you've adapted to the world and your animalistic ancestral, your ego part of you, the part of you that wants to protect everything and is afraid of your survival and is looking for danger so that it can alert you. All of the stuff that it's working well for and should work for sometimes becomes problematic in the modern world. Obviously, we see out there people acting primitively sometimes, right? Like, use your words, right? For kids. Yeah. Hello, adults too, probably. But sometimes it's like, if you know you're right, enjoy that win privately and move on. Because the moment you start to justify and feel like you have to adamantly prove yourself to someone else, like you just lost the confidence. And now we're in a conversation, you lost the confidence game. It sucks. It's just like, oh, I should have never even gone there. A spiritual guru might say that secretly enjoying that you are right? Like I just said, hey, if you know you're right, enjoy that win. Most spiritual gurus probably say, hey, that secretly enjoying that you're right is sort of falling victim to the negative aspects of the ego. I disagree. Our egos can be the culprit in a lot of our messy emotions and actions and reactions, but it's not something to be completely destroyed or banished. I don't like this kill the ego thing. And many self-help teachers, self-improvement people have made the ego your enemy, associating it with being arrogant or imbecilic. And the thing is that it's not the main culprit in every chaotic affair in your life. Your illusion of the self is. You need the ego. You don't want to kill it. You need the ego to arbitrate between unconscious and conscious thoughts and emotions. You would be literally in an insane asylum if the people that are in an insane asylum, they're not able to do that. That's the people that are mentally insane.
The ultimate game of life is happiness. So whatever that means for you. I think the ego gets a bad rap. I believe it's harmless to occasionally allow your ego a few wins. They might be philosophically ill-perceived wins and victories, but they still feel like true victories. And those victories, those silent victories, fuel our confidence and self-esteem. Throw your ego a bone every now and then. I believe self-preservation in body and ego is inherently primal. I'm happy to indulge it on occasion because being a dominant force can really increase self-esteem and self-confidence, and it may even save your life. Being able to take charge in a situation of danger or something like that. You know, let's say someone walked up to me and started bullying me, right? Started bullying me and whatever, berating me or who knows what, right? Or just some weird situation like this. I'm absolutely going to engage my primal instincts to protect myself. Because you've just come at me with like an onslaught of some type of abuse, right? So I'm going to engage those primal instincts. I'm not just going to go breathe deeply and say, that's okay. If you're able to do that and not regret it later, awesome. And sometimes in some situations, that's the case. And other times I'm like, nope, because it's going to eat away at me more that I didn't stand up and speak up and draw a boundary and say, no, you're not going to abuse me. How dare you? Of course, I'm talking about like verbal, mental, not, physical. Although don't accept that either, obviously. But on this topic, really, with those incidents where I really stuck up for myself or laid into a bully, I have not for 1 second regretted standing my ground. In fact, to this day, whenever I think about those incidents or they come up or people, in conversations and someone asks a story and I tell a story, I'm proud of myself for indulging in the ego, the self-protected ego moments to go, hey, no, a confrontation, but a boundary. Look, I went to UC Santa Cruz. This is the most hippie school in the world. We didn't even have any grades. It was clothing optional. I live in California. People make fun of my state all the time. But here's the thing. The people that claim spiritual superiority might say the key to life is to never allow yourself to be affected by these things. Just smile, breathe, move on. They might declare that being involved in spiritual is about achieving a constant state of peace of mind. You know what? If you're on a hippie commune and you're living there and you're UC Santa Cruz, yes, life's idyllic and this life that, but it's not. You're dealing with their personalities, people, the public. We're out there in the real world. That isn't real life for most of us. Although a goal worth trying to achieve in terms of reacting less to things, seeing how much you can let roll off the back, but it's still just not completely realistic human behavior. We're not even built like that. If the ego was completely gone, there would be no more contrast in life to help propel you forward with dreams. You'd have no more, If you think about it from an ancestral perspective, like our dominant ancestors prevailed and won favor among the group because it was a daily game of survival and you needed to be valued by the tribe. You needed to be counted on. Don't count on the person who cowers in the face of dominance or danger. You pick the most confident players. You pick the most dominant forces. You pick the boldest. So primal skills such as defending ourselves, standing our ground, speaking up should not be fully suppressed by modern spiritual teachings for the sake of just breathe it out, let it go, who cares? I have noticed in my life, again, talk about it all the time, of course, speaking up and declaring boundaries fuels me, it fuels my self-love. It's so honoring, it's so authentic, it's out of integrity for me and my preferences and goals in life. And again, there's a fine line between being spiritual or feeling like you've evolved and then not allowing your self-esteem to accept a blast from somebody, right? Again, these are about choosing your battles wisely. There are moments when you're not going to care. And maybe you just let that one go because who cares? But then there's times where you feel it. Then don't suppress it and speak up, of course, unless you're in danger. I'd rather, like I say, always get my ego punch than my face. So you choose your battles wisely in a variety of areas. But the ego is not there to be murdered. Oh, it's your ego. Oh, it's your ego. It's your ego. Hey, the ego is fucking great. The ego gets you out of danger. The ego is what propels you to survive in circumstances that don't look like you can. So indulge it on occasion, choose the right battles for speaking up. Sometimes you have to put a bully in their place. Sometimes you have to just speak up. Sometimes it feels like when you do, in my experience anyway, when you stand up for things like this, when you indulge the ego on proper battles, it feels like you get rewarded from the universe for loving and honoring your self-esteem and loving who you are enough to not tolerate that. So be careful about the ego. Don't blame yourself. If you're reacting to something and go, oh my gosh, just my ego, it's just my ego. You don't suppress a thing for a sake of a theory. I'm going to repeat that. Don't suppress a thing for the sake of a theory you believe is the best one because this one community says so. I might have in interviews or on a podcast somewhere, I might have told this story, but many, many years ago, my friend started a tutoring company in Los Angeles, and I helped him sort of like get it going and sort of was helping him on the side. And then at some point something came up and, we were like actors in Hollywood at the time. And he said, hey, there's this family, they're billionaires and the parents sort of they have 3 kids and the parents need someone to sort of be their homework helper or like hang out, kind of babysitter, but they're like, not babies. And they're going to pay they pay a lot. This is what they pay. And I was like, I don't know, it was a lot of money at the time. Maybe it was even $30 an hour. It's a lot. And I was like, all right, sure, I could use the extra money. And so I'm there and they were absolute billionaires. They also, the parents were part of a known spiritual group, not a cult, just but like a spiritual, like a, thing. And had a very famous spiritual guru at their house many times who I saw in person. And we're just all about meditation and peace and have all this stuff. And they indulged in so many meditation retreats. There always seemed to be somewhere doing some spiritual something. And yet their kids' lives were falling apart. One was anorexic. The other was overwhelmed at a school where there's just too much going on and they just had too many activities scheduled for this kid. And the young kid was like, where the fuck are my parents? I ended up quitting that job because I called my mom crying one day because I just felt like it was the weirdest thing in the world. I was watching abuse, but they were billionaires. They had a chef and a maid and a tutor for each kid and a multi-gajillion-dollar house, and they were nice people and no one was hitting anybody. Their neglect was for the pursuit of this, everything's great. And they talked like this and they never had any emotion. We used to make fun, literally my friends and I used to make fun of the parents because it was just unbelievable. And everything was just, oh yes, we're so spiritual and everything is wonderful. And the parents had a bedroom. There were lots of incidents. I will go through all of them, but one of them was like a mind blower. Although they had a large house, the parents' master bedroom was just literally down the hall from the kids' bedrooms. And it was like 9:30 at night, and I was still there, like doing all the overwhelming homework with one of those kids. And I finally am ready to leave, and I go down to the master bedroom. The door's open. She's sitting there at her desk, and I said, "All right, well, I'm ready to go." She goes, "Oh, okay. Can you go tell my daughter good night for me?" And I was just like, this is fucking sad. And the kids kind of knew. They made fun of it. They were like, what bullshit. They were like calling their, I mean, I didn't fuel it, but they called their parents out on it. Like they'd be talking to friends or one of the maids or sub tutors, and they would say things like, oh yeah, the fucking whatever, like real spiritual, you know, have a nice trip meditating again. Everything was, we're not affected. We're so spiritual, wonderful beings that we're all just on a smooth level, and we're so evolved. It made me sick. And I ultimately had to quit working there because I literally was, and when I say, I mean, we're talking about their property was like a minimum of $10 million. The father had a company that was like, he was a multi-billionaire. They had the money for the chefs, the maids, the people, they had all the stuff to make it work technically, but they abandoned and neglected and side in their abuse these kids, and it was showing up in their lives. And I just kind of couldn't be around it anymore. I couldn't witness this. It seemed so fucking fake to me. So fake. But they would be those people. Oh, well, everything's blissful. I just think great thoughts and everything's, look, there's nothing wrong with that. That's really true for you. That's great. But I've seen it also on a really high hypocritical level where we're talking like, and they were nice people and they love their kids. They were nice. You might go, well, they were just self-involved. Yeah, I mean, they could have done all the meditation stuff and been parents. That would have been nice. No, but it's the person that goes to church every week and then they go beat their wife on Sunday night. What kind of fucking crap is that? So the ego gets a bad rap with the spiritual community. There's books. The ego's a problem. Blame your ego. It's your ego's fault. Get rid of your ego. No, indulge the great parts of your ego. Indulge the parts that fuel your confidence. Don't mistake a gut vibe, or don't change a gut vibe into oh no, but I shouldn't say something because I shouldn't let this affect me. You're basically gaslighting yourself then at a certain point. Now, it is work. It's definitely worth the work. I've done it myself and I keep improving. I'm sure I always will. And maybe you have too, where again, you become more emotionally mature. And then there's some people that are just emotionally mature younger somehow. There are people that are naturally just positive. They don't even know about power of intentional law of attraction, just naturally attract shit. There are people that literally just aren't affected by much. They don't have one good example would be people with autism. Sometimes one of the prevailing sort of manifestations of that is that sometimes people with autism spectrum disorder, like they don't understand like you could fall on the ground and they wouldn't rush to get you. They have an issue with empathy. So they might be able to learn the cues in life that say, oh, your coworker is sick. That means you should probably go bake them cookies. Like they can see what a solution might be, but they don't intuitively understand and get empathy. It's one of the main concerns they say to look out for in your child if you think they might be autistic, or formerly called Asperger's. I think they now just put it under autism spectrum disorder. So they almost kind of have an automatic ingrained inherent thing within them. It separates them from society in a way, right? That can be detrimental, although we're obviously learning to accept these people more and more and learn different therapies and things that can work with these people to make their lives better. But and have them be functional, because they're also really brilliant. Some of the most incredible contributors are autistic. Temple Grandin, who revolutionized the cattle industry, and also Elon Musk. Pretty freaking amazing, regardless of what you think of the guy or her. And they're autistic or on the spectrum, right? So in that sense, they kind of have a little bit of a gift to not be emotionally affected by things that the rest of us are, but it also prevents them from having certain connections that we can have because they don't understand the cues. They can learn them, but then if new things come up, they don't. So if it's something they've learned before, like, oh, this is what you do to show empathy when someone's sick. This is what you do when someone says their friend died. You say, oh, sorry to hear that. And that they can learn that. But it's sometimes manufactured and learned versus inherent with the rest of us, who, when you fall on the ground, we run, go, oh my God, are you okay? So in their case, they kind of have a little bit of a gift on that edge. But look at how the gift of them sort of not caring takes away something that's quite important for connection too. Emotional connection between people. Not that they don't know what they're not missing. Of course. You could be listening to this and be on the spectrum. Same thing. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being on the spectrum, right? But there are certain things you probably have had to learn, right? And this goes for everything too. There's people that have had, who are, people pleasers, or even who have had major trauma, who have to sort of relearn how to be with people, how to incorporate, how to assimilate more into connection with others. And they can do the work together, and sometimes it can become natural after a while and second nature, but at first it's sort of a little bit of work. So indulge the ego, recognize when it's detrimental, recognize when you're like, did I have to choose that battle? Could I have refrained from not saying anything? Could I just kind of let that one, could I let them be right? Could I just let them be right? And that was like, really worth it? Is it worth it? A lot of the times it's not worth it. And sometimes it's worth it because it's also just like an interesting debate. There's a difference between a contentious situation that might happen, which becomes a conversation that goes nowhere, just raises everyone's blood pressure. Yeah, so we don't want to ignite those. But also, could you just let a lot go? Yeah, I think we all can. We can all learn more and more to do that. Sometimes you see with people as they get older, they, again, give less and less a shit about things. But then also the other happens. People become more and more like controlling. And it's very interesting. So yeah, the goal would be to become less reactive, more forgiving, more open, within, of course, honoring yourself and your boundaries and all of your desires and preferences. But indulging the ego when you need to. When you need to speak up, when you're going to be like, no, I'm not going to accept that. You're not going to talk to me that way. Or I want more money for this job. Or I have a business idea I want to pitch you. And then I guess I would say, well, ask yourself, like, all right, are there times in the past couple of weeks where I let the ego get the best of me and I didn't make good choices? Did I shoot off a text I shouldn't have if I had spent 24 hours sleeping on it? And now I regret it. Do I? Right? So we can always just we're constantly evaluating. If you're in this self-improvement, like, let's go up the ladder game. Yeah. But also, are you real? Are you like that parent of the family that I work for, the parents, where everything's great. Everything's great. I'm just going to talk at this because for some reason, talking at a level that's monotone says that I'm an evolved spiritual person. Great. Try to go to a comedy show with someone with that tone. See if you fucking laugh once. You might. Stephen Wright might be a good example of that. But even though he was an anomaly in that sense of very different, very him, no one could sort of beat him at that specific thing that he had about himself. But for the most part, we That's why you don't have any emotions. You never express yourself. Come on. Well, you never get annoyed by something? That's right. Doesn't mean you have to linger on it and simmer in it and make it your whole life and call 10 people and bitch about it. But, maybe you need to just say it out loud or be like, fuck that. Right. And if it messes up your day, if you don't change your thoughts around, within 30 seconds of that, then okay, then you got a problem. If you keep going down the staircase of that shitty thought, yeah, now you got an issue. But to have it spark up and kind of recognize it and acknowledge it and feel it for a minute, no. It's your ego protecting you. Something happened, didn't feel right, didn't like it, whatever. You have a right to be disappointed. You have a right to go, ugh. You have a right to go, no. So don't kill your ego. Just massage it a little bit when you need to. Take these philosophically false wins sometimes. Be the bigger person sometimes and just completely let someone be right. Not even bring up anything that they're saying that's illogical. This happens with friends who might have different political or social viewpoints as you. Just leave it. You're not going to change anybody's mind. Leave it. Conversation. Not a battle worth choosing. You'll find that out if you take it. We always do. We always find out because you jump into that battle and then you're like, fuck, I should have stayed on the sideline here. But then there's somewhere you're like, yeah, uh-huh, mm-hmm. And those are the ones that are these false sense of wins that your ego gets to have, and you should feed it and enjoy it, and it fuels your confidence. I'm not saying to change any way that you behave about life. Just don't shoot yourself down or think or be more real if you're trying to attain a level of everything's great. We're not living on a hippie commune. I am pretty much living on, look, I live in California. This place is so hippie. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. You can't even imagine. People come here and they're like, what is happening? When I first came here many years ago, like 28 years ago, I was like, what the hell? What is going on in this state? What are you talking about? People coming up with stuff. I was like, what do you even mean? Vegan. What does that mean? I don't even know what that word means. Because California was really the first and kind of like, very prevalent place where people were adopting that. And when I came from the Midwest, no one ever heard of vegans. We heard of vegetarians, but no one ever heard that next level step. Nobody. So I was like, whoa. And then I went to a school with no grades and it was clothing optional. Yes, clothing optional. Meaning if you wanted to walk around our campus naked, go for it. I didn't know that. I didn't see any. I didn't when I applied to, I don't care, but when I applied to the school, I did not know this until I saw it and was with my roommate. And she's like, oh yeah, did you not know you're allowed? I was like, what? What? She was like, yeah, you're going to see it occasionally. Yeah, it's allowed. It's cool. One time it rained for like 3 weeks in Santa Cruz. And my roommate, one of my hippier roommates they were kind of all hippies, but one of my roommates was like, hey, got some friends who need a place to stay in this brutal rain and stuff like that. And she brought a couple friends in and she's like, they're woodsies. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? She's like, they're woodsies. And I'm like, she's like, they live in the woods. And I'm like, they're students at this campus and they live in the woods on campus? She said, yes. And I said, how is this fucking happening? She goes, the school allows it. They know it's happening. It's like, it's up, behind the RV park on campus. You could just camp out. I was like, oh, what? I'm like, there are fucking students here that just camp out to go home instead of a dorm or apartment, just go camp in the middle of the woods. Super hippie, naked drum circles. Like dudes, super hippie. But we don't live at UC Santa Cruz, right? Life is not a naked drum solstice festival. And God bless them. They're all over here, man. They're all over my neighborhood. Hey, no judgment on that shit. Love it. I do that. I just do it more privately with maybe a smaller group of friends and stuff. But I love that stuff. Yeah, I enjoy that. I'm not going to go be a part of a hippie drum circle somewhere, but that's cool. I kind of went to a hippie drum circle to get my degree. So I kind of felt like and I went to Burning Man. I got a degree from there pretty much. That's why I'll never go to Burning Man. People are like, oh, you should go to Burning Man. I'm like, yep, been there. I did it already. Got a degree in it. But I really couldn't believe this. Like, what is happening? Coming in from the woods in the rain. So we're not living on this hippie commune where everyone's peace and love and it's Woodstock. It's a wonderful ideal. And I think the effort of getting to be more emotionally evolved is absolutely wonderful. And I know that in my life, it's helped. Like I definitely am less reactive to things that I reacted to when I was 20 years old or when I was 25 or before I even started self-help or self-improvement. You know, if for some reason I was on the side of the road right now and then like I got a flat tire, maybe before I even did any of this sort of inner development, I would have been like, fuck, shit, damn it. Maybe I've called a bunch of people, bitched about it. How was your day? Oh, it's a fucking thing. Now I'm just like, oh, this will be interesting. I was meant to be stopped then. Maybe I avoided an accident. Maybe I need to know something. Maybe there's something wrong structurally with the car. Maybe I need to sit here and reflect. Oh, maybe am I not taking care of my car and I missed whatever the thing is? But I look at it differently, not as a like, oh, this is horrible. So again, like less reactive, more open to unknown situations and so many other things. But the ego is not meant to be murdered. And take a look to see if you or any people you know have fake ego, fake lack of ego. Now, there are some people that actually like really truly have it, like truly represent this sort of like ultimate Santa Cruz hippie model, right? Which is Eckhart Tolle or Byron Katie. Very good examples of people who really are truly at the point and had like an awakening moment where a switch was flipped and they kind of became that part of what I mentioned earlier about autism spectrum people's brains of like really not reacting emotionally to things that we all do. And it's a benefit to them. And they do teach ways of looking at things, of course, as philosophers in their own right on how to get there and love them. Absolutely. That's part of self development, reading their books, looking at their stuff. But are you a failure because you're not a Byron Katie who had like an amazing awakening moment and a flip was switched in her brain and she became this? Can everyone achieve that? I don't know. I mean, you can achieve a lot through her work, though, and a lot through his. You can achieve more peaceful moments in the face of stress or unknown uncertainty. And then as you go along, you look at other people and you see that you feel that they overreact to things that you once reacted just the same to. So, in that sense, your ego is evolving in a very positive way. You are evolving in a very positive way. You are really nicely walking that slack line perfectly between the world of enough ego and calming it, not letting the primal ego part of you dance in every area of modern life. It's a nice mix. And that's how I feel about it anyway. You know, obviously, if you've heard me, like I swear, I'm not presenting my theories to you like this all the time, and right and whatever. But I consider myself extremely spiritual and having a lot to offer in that arena for people. But I'm also a normal human being who loves sick, twisted, wicked sense of humor, comedy, and does all sorts of different things, has energy, passion. And if you're that other person naturally, that's great too. That's who you are. You people are wonderful, calming presences to the rest of the world. We love you. We need you. If you're naturally that, stay that. But indulge the ego a win every now and then for the sake of increasing your confidence and self-esteem. and also look at ways you need to dial it in. And I think this is sort of the constant work for me, for you, for everyone. I'm not on a pedestal here. It's just what I'm noticing in my own life as decades are going by. All right. If you enjoy my show, please write a review on Apple Podcasts if you can, or Spotify, and reach out if you have an idea for a solo episode or have any questions for me you'd like me to answer on any solo episodes I do. I'm mostly on Instagram. That's my main jam, but I'm on all of the platforms. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Hey listeners, over the years, a ton of companies have approached me to collaborate, but I will only promote companies whose products I believe in and that I actually use and consume on a regular basis. So let me tell you about some of my favorite companies that I can offer you discounts for. Rep Provisions, an amazing company doing incredible things for our planet, topsoil, and animals with regenerative agriculture, and it's my #1 source for quality pasture-raised meat and chicken. Visit repprovisions.com and use code L15 for 15% off. I'm also obsessed with a company called Carnivore Crisps. They make a lean, all-natural, and delicious alternative to conventional snacking, made with just real meat and real salt. Totally addictive, and my favorite ones are the beef brisket and the ribeye. Visit carnivorecrisps.com and use code PALEO10 for 10% off. I also love and regularly use Paleo Valley products. They make amazing supplements and delicious paleo products. I use the superfood greens powder, grass-fed beef sticks, the organ complex, and their bone broth bars. I love the lemon and apple. I also use their essential C complex and more. Visit paleovalley.com/promos/Elle Russ for 15% off. I also love Primal Kitchen. They make delicious paleo-approved, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, and no refined sugar products, and I use them daily, from their collagen powders and sauces and marinades to their avocado and olive oil. So good, so healthy. Visit primalkitchen.com and use code L10 for 10% off. I also love paleo powder and use it almost on everything I cook. They make incredible seasoning blends, and they also have these incredible grain-free coatings that feel just like crispy breadings that you would have had prior to knowing that there's another way. So visit paleopowder.com and use code L15 for 15% off.